Welcome to Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. I'm Kevin Parkerson.
And I'm Kevin Higgins. Together we bring you over 60 years in combined experience in global logistics.
In each episode, we'll dive into the latest industry trends, share practical tips, celebrate wins, and share stories from the logistics front lines, all while helping businesses optimize their logistics operations. All right, Kevin, today we're diving into the heart of Northwest Arkansas, where logistics meets innovation and the people behind the scenes that are shaping the future.
That's right. And when you talk about people in logistics, there's no better guest to have than David Keefauver, Executive Vice President of People at J.B. Hunt Transport. He knows firsthand how to keep the wheels of one of the nation's largest transportation companies turning by focusing on its most valuable asset, the people.
So J.B. Hunt is a cornerstone of Northwest Arkansas's booming logistics scene, and David's leadership plays a big role in attracting, developing, and retaining the talent that drives their success. In an industry where technology and processes are evolving fast, David's focus on people's strategy is helping J.B. Hunt stay ahead of the curve.
In KP, let's not forget that this episode is part of our Kev Talks NWA series, where we shine a spotlight on the innovators and thought leaders that are driving growth across Bentonville, Rogers, Springdale, and Fayetteville. With this region on track to reach a population of 1 million people by 2050, the work of leaders like David is shaping the future of global logistics.
So whether you're curious about how logistics giants keep its workforce engaged or how people's strategy fits into the bigger picture of supply chain innovation, this conversation with David is one you won't want to miss.
Yep. So here we go, right into our conversation with David Keefauver from J.B. Hunt.
Hey, guys.
Hey, David, welcome.
Hey, David.
Glad to be here.
Well, David, let's get started. I want to hear, you have been at J.B. Hunt Transport for over 30 years. Tell us a little bit about your career, and in that, I would love to hear your first day story.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, gotcha. That's a good one. Yeah, just actually passed the 30-year mark. Just I guess about a month and a half ago. I'm not from Northwest Arkansas originally. Been here for about 20 years. Absolutely love it here, by the way. But I actually grew up in East Tennessee and went to the University of Tennessee and started right out of school with J.B. Hunt. Came here as a management trainee for a few months, for about 4 months, I think, in 1995, and then moved out into the field. Lived in Memphis for a couple of years, Charlotte for a couple of years, Atlanta for about 7 or 8 years, I think. And then moved here about 20, call it about 20 years ago. So the unique thing, and I hope people haven't dialed in or queued up this podcast to hear in-depth HR knowledge as the executive vice president of people, because I'm brand new to it. I've been here 30 years, but 29 years and call it 10 months of that, we're actually in one of our business units, So my entire career up until October of last year was in dedicated contract services. So worked my way up through that, and really did just about every position. Not every position, but most. And then come October, just got called into the office, and my work life did a complete 180. And I was asked to join the people team, to lead the people team. I was the EVP over dedicated, now the EVP over the people team, and also our corporate driver hiring department, which is a big, really cool group that we have. So as you can imagine, I'm just swimming in new information. I'm learning to speak a new language. I don't want to speak. Our CEO, I know a lot of people are familiar with Shelley Simpson. Mm-hmm. I don't want to put words in her mouth about why she thought that this would be where she wanted me. Mm-hmm. I think what it says is that I could tell you my success. It was, I think what I became known for anyway was my care for people, and it's not all selfless. I mean, that's just who I am. It's in my DNA, but it's also good for business, to have happy people. I'm the biggest believer of all about happy, engaged employees do better work. So that was a really major focus of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the success that I had in dedicated contract services, I think Shelley in her mind thought that maybe my expertise in that specific business unit may not have been as important to her as my ability to think about taking care of people, and also bringing kind of a real business focus to the people group as well.
Yeah.
But I think it says a lot about Shelley, and I think it really does say a lot about JB Hunt, that when we talk, and I know everybody, there's not going to be a company in the world that's going to say that people aren't their number one asset, that it's all about people. But I feel like we kind of walk the walk and talk the talk. I mean, it really is in our DNA.
I think that's great. And it does say, it says a ton about Shelley, and it says a ton about the company, but she obviously saw how you led people, how you cared for people. And KB, we've talked a lot this week about, hard work versus heart work. And I think, David, that's a testament to the hard work that you've done inside of JB Hunt for her to have that confidence and put you in that role.
Yeah. And I definitely want to get into, a lot more of that, the people side of it, and kind of your leadership style and everything. But I'm not going to let you get away from, I want to hear about day one. I know that everybody at JB Hunt has a great story, and knowing that you started in DCS, what was that first day like? Do you remember?
Here's the story I'll tell you. That it's not day one of my employment, but day one of coming to the corporate office.
Okay.
Did an interview at the University of Tennessee, and then they brought us to Arkansas. A group of, I think there were like 6 of us, came and did basically all day interviews. An hour slots all day, like 8 1-hour interviews with a luncheon in the middle. And my like 11 o'clock interview was with somebody that had to fly out. So it was, I can't remember who it was, but he's like, my apologies, I'm going to have to run. So we talked for about 15 minutes, and then they just dropped me off in the corporate dining room.
Oh,
where I didn't, I've just, hey, that's great. I'll just hang out in the corporate dining room. But they had tables set up everywhere, and they had table tents with your name on it. So you knew, so people knew where they were to sit.
Okay.
And I looked, and I saw, first thing I do is, where am I going to sit? And I looked next to it, and the card next to it says JB Hunt.
Oh my gosh.
And I was first of all, the JB Hunt. I didn't have the luxury of knowing him well, like a lot of the people I work with today do. But I was around him enough to know what a character he was, vision, such a great vision, such a just presence in the room. So it was a real honor for me.
And that's great.
No, that's a great story. I'm glad you shared that. But did you consider moving the name tags around? Or like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not up for this, or did you say, hey, look, I get to talk to Mr. Hunt?
I think at the time I was kind of excited. I'm sure I can't remember for sure, but I had to have been nervous.
Sure.
Oh yeah,
like crazy. But who knows? I was young and probably didn't know any better about how big of a deal that was at the time. I realize it now.
That's huge. Well, I have a question that's completely off topic. Before this interview, you didn't pull Parkerson's file from the Hunt archives, did you, just to check up on him?
Yeah, my file is there. So is it. So is yours, Higgins.
Mine is there too.
Oh, you guys both worked at JB Hunt.
Yes, absolutely.
I started. I started 1988. I was there for a year and left. I started in 88, left in early 89 to go to another trucking company. But so Parkerson, I recruited Parkerson away from JB Hunt back in the day.
Yeah, I won't tell a lot of my story. I think I told it maybe way too much. But yet, David, our time at Hunt actually overlapped a little bit. But because you were out in the field, I started in 92 and was there for a decade. Until Higgins pulled me away. But I distinctly remember, some opportunities where I did meet Mr. Hunt, and remember, just being in awe of his visionary approach to supply chain. So really a lot of great memories, a lot of great learnings
Yeah.
at a phenomenal company for a decade,
Yeah.
and really it's in many cases, it's the foundation of what I'm able to do, what I was able to do in my career
Yeah.
today.
Hey, one other thing I'll mention is, and at the time I didn't get to meet Mrs. Hunt,
Mm.
but what an incredible person
Oh my
Mrs. Hunt
gosh.
is. Like, and I don't know her really well, but
Yeah.
I know her. I've she's
Right.
around, and she still to this day, she comes in, and speaks to our people. She joins us for
Yep.
special occasions. And I tell you what, and this says a lot about her, when she's almost for sure going to show up is if it's something honoring
Yep.
drivers, or
Yep.
if it's honoring mechanics.
That's awesome.
Like she has, like, JB Hunt's really known to be a driver focused company. And it all really started with Mr.
Yeah.
and Mrs. Hunt. She is fantastic. Maybe the best storyteller I've ever heard. I could sit and listen to her tell stories about the good old days. All I could hear, I could listen
Yeah.
to it all
Yeah.
day.
She's amazing.
It sounds like a great guest for the next
we'd
Kev
love to
Talks,
have Mrs.
right,
Hunt.
Kevin?
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So David, you've been at the same company for 3 decades,
Yeah.
within an industry that changes so often. You've seen a lot of changes. What's kept you? And I think a little bit of what you've already shared kind of answers it, but share with the audience what's kept you at a company for 3 decades.
I've been asked that. I've been asked that many times, and it wasn't like by plan. It wasn't like I thought, boy, I'm selecting. I'm going to go to work for JB Hunt, just spend my whole career there. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't think like that. But once I got here, there's a couple things, and I'll give you a little background.
Yeah.
It's been about the people, the coworkers. We have I always say that we take our jobs very seriously, but we don't take ourselves all that seriously. And what I mean by that is we like to have fun. I have, now that I'm here 30 years, I still keep in touch with college buddies and, and still have friends outside of work. But my closest friends are, people that I've known here for 30 years. So having people that I really enjoy working with means a lot.
Yeah.
Also, just had lots of opportunity. It's a growing company. Never got bored. I got to do, never a dull moment, and had opportunity. So love the people, had the opportunity. And I'll say, we do engagement surveys just like I think probably most companies do. And the 2 questions that always, there's usually those engagement surveys. You'll get a lot of the responses will group together kind of in the middle, and that's good to know. And then you'll have some below that don't score well, and that's where you really know. That's where you put your focus and work. And then you have some questions that like almost score off the charts. And those are the ones that really you don't do much with, other than that you're just really proud of them. And the two that stand out every single time we do it are, I enjoy my coworkers, or some variation of that. I enjoy my coworkers, and I believe in the future of JB Hunt, which I interpret to being that they feel like there's opportunities for growth. So I think my story is not unique. I think there's a lot of people here that feel that way. And by the way, 30 years, right across the hallway, my former boss has been here 40 years. Our CEO's been here almost 31 years. My story about being here since I was in college and 30 years is not unique here. I think also says a lot about the company that
It does.
I love so much.
Yep, it does. So during that time frame, the company's evolved quite a bit. What's changed and what's stayed the same?
I think it feels like almost everything's changed since the mid '90s. If you think about the technology that I didn't have an email until 6 months after I joined, an email address until 6 months after I joined JB Hunt. Didn't have my first cell phone until I was probably 1999 or 2000.
Yep.
Think about technology wise, what's happened in those 30 years. It's mind blowing. So much has changed there. If you think back then, Dedicated, which I started on, it was brand new.
Yes.
It was in its infancy. Intermodal, our largest business unit inside of Dedicated, was kind of in its infancy as well.
Yep.
Since then, we've added Final Mile, we've added ICS, so we've new service offerings. There's just so much that's changed. I would say the one thing that really has stayed the same and is just our focus on kind of people first. With our strategies and our initiatives change over time, but the one thing that doesn't change is our focus on the culture. Like we are firmly in the camp that there's nothing more important than our culture here. And I'll tell you, it's a culture of people, but it's also a culture of safety. Which if you guys know, if you've spent time in trucking, how important that is for the safety of our employees, for the safety of the motoring public, and not to speak of secondarily, but it also costs a lot of money.
Yeah. You just brought up culture. I want to drill down into a little bit of that, and how do you foster that culture where people feel valued while you're still driving innovation and operational excellence? How do you balance that?
Yeah, I think, and when we talk about people, that doesn't mean like I like my vision, and I don't necessarily like, not everybody thinks exactly like I think, but it's all about people. To me, it's all about people being happy, but that doesn't mean they're not held accountable. I mean, like we have a large degree of accountability. People have, we want them to work hard, and but we want to show them how much we care for them. I think there's some examples, through COVID and since, there's been a pretty tough freight recession over the past, call it 2.5 years.
Yeah.
One thing too, and I'll share this because I'm kind of proud of it. And this is not across all the company, but it's spreading across the company, and it's it's focused on drivers. I'm speaking in terms of drivers. Actually, a close friend of mine is who came up with this idea and implemented it. He's our VP of operations in the Northeast region. He lives in Philadelphia. He came up with this idea that, hey, we care about our employees so much that we care about their families too, because that's such a big piece of our employees' lives. And so we have a program now that's widespread across the country for the most part, and it's purely voluntary. Drivers, it's only if they want to do this. They share with us information about like their kids' birthdays or their anniversary, for their spouse, things like that. Or they may not have kids, and they may have a nephew or a niece, or maybe they have a really close relationship with their
dog or cat.
Yeah, that's me right there, dog or cat. So what they do is they sign up. Here's some key dates in my life as a driver, and we actually, we're very careful to make sure to manage this crisply. But we'll send out cards, we'll send out gifts to kids, we'll send out flowers for anniversaries, and the feedback that we've gotten from that is it's through the roof. The response we get from that, like, it's daily. We get messages back from a spouse that said, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that my husband's been a driver for the last 40 years and nobody once ever, did anything like this. And I can tell you how my husband's never been happier than he is now." And that's the kind of thing that you get that feedback, and it's tremendous. You also get pictures of kids with Lego sets. We'll do like a little JB Hunt Lego truck that they're together. Just a real quick funny story without me rambling on too much, but early in the program, we had the birthday gift, which was the Lego set, the JB Hunt truck Lego set. And one of the drivers came in, this is in the first few weeks of this, came in and said, "Hey, my son wanted to give this back to you all. He was really appreciative that he's 35 years old now and he doesn't play with Legos anymore." So we're like, "Oh, we got to account for that." So now we have different gifts. So it's been really fun, and getting the feedback is something that just, quite honestly, it just puts a smile on my face every day when I get to see some of the feedback.
Yeah, but David, you hit it right there. I mean, it's those simple things. It's something as simple as sending a card that acknowledges and validates, your employees and your
Yeah.
employees' families. I can't tell you how many times in my career when I was a recipient of something like that, how simple it is, but how important it was, and I felt validated and appreciated. More than
Yeah.
ever before. So I think that's great, and that's what really separates JB Hunt from other companies. From how you treat your people. So with that, how do you attract and retain talent in today's competitive environment of logistics?
I tell you, I mean, it's of course the first thing, and this would be everybody's answer. I think it's about got to make sure wages are competitive, benefits are competitive. Um, I think we do a lot with. I think our culture, I think, is what probably keeps people here. We have a lot of tenure inside of the company, and I think it's about culture. It's about being at a company where um, that you're not asked to. We don't ask people to uh, do things that we wouldn't do ourselves. But that's something that we work really hard on.
Yeah.
Well, I heard somebody speaking of like work-life balance. I want to get your view on this, David, because I heard somebody say earlier that we should stop using work-life balance as a phrase because it's just life balance. Because your
Yep.
work is a part of your life, and so that really, when they said that, it hit me like square in the chest, because I'm like, you know what, you're exactly right. My work is a part of my life, and my family is, and everything else. So it really is just about life balance, right?
Or work-life blend, is how
Yeah.
I've heard it phrased as well. Instead of a balance, which balance means you're having to give up something or something's more important, and you really need to be blending it, your work and your life.
I love that. It was actually just last week I heard Shelly Simpson, our CEO,
Mhm.
give a talk, and one of the questions that was asked of her was about how she balance, because and by the way, she
Yeah.
works hard, um, and it was about kind of work life balance, and she basically said, I can't remember, I'm paraphrasing, but basically what she said was, it's not really about work life balance for me, it's about work life blending.
Yeah.
She said, of course, if she's at work, um, and one of her kids needs her, and I'm the same way. If one of my kids calls, I'm not going to answer if I'm in a big meeting, but I'm going to text back, "You need me?" And if they call me back again or say yes, it really doesn't matter what
Yeah.
I'm doing. I'm going to, like, hey, we've got a problem, and my kids, my family comes first. Um, and so she'll do that. But vice versa, if she's out and she's spending time with her family, and she's not going to just um, be involved. She's not there reading emails all the time while she's spending time with family. But if something comes up, yeah, she's gonna step away. I mean, both, you can do
Yeah.
both. So it's like you said, it's a life balance instead of a work life balance. I
Mhm.
agree completely.
Yeah. Yeah. So how has the company's strategy, in recent times, how has the people strategy adapted to major disruptions like pandemic and technological changes in the industry? How's the people strategy had to shift?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think back. The first thing that comes to mind was COVID. It seems like
Mhm.
just yesterday, and it also seems like a lifetime ago at the
Right.
same time.
Exactly.
And of course, just like everybody else, we were, for the most part, at least from a corporate standpoint, work from home. We do have, the majority of our employees are in the field and, on site with customers or managing drivers that obviously can't be done work from home. So, um, by the way, that's something else that made me real proud too, is that during the pandemic, of all the negatives, and boy, were there negatives.
Mhm.
A positive that came out is, I think that truck drivers may have, for the first time, really got the respect that they deserve.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, there was you heard a lot about first responders and truck drivers. And I think for the most part, I mean, maybe you could argue, you know, taken for granted by the general population about all the work that's done. But during that time, I think people really stepped up and were appreciative. And I think it meant a lot. I think it meant a lot to our drivers. But back to the question. So when we came back, we do believe in, and we want people at work. And I know there's different views on all that. And I know, you know, it's been a little bit of a controversial topic. But here's how we have adapted. I think the pandemic, we really learned, and by the way, technology led to some of this, that we were able to manage really well during the pandemic, work from home. We had employees that did a great job of keeping productivity up, and technology allowed us to do that. You know, people could work from home and still get the same amount of work done. But what it taught us is that we need to be more flexible. We've always tried to be flexible, but I'd say pre-pandemic, we weren't as flexible as we needed to be. I think post-pandemic, you know, we do want people working from the office, but I think for the most part, we've made some pretty large strides and you know, being flexible with our employees. I'm sure somebody's gonna listen and say, you know, I work for JB Hunt. They're not flexible enough, and I know that we're not perfect, but we really have made a conscious effort to, you know, to make sure people, you know, can, you know, hey, if you need to break away during the middle of the day, do it. You know, and our people have proven time and again, they're gonna make up the work at night.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if they miss something, they're going to make it up. So we try to be as flexible as possible.
So on the work from home, our home where the three of us are at is Northwest Arkansas. So how has this region, specifically Northwest Arkansas, shaped JB Hunt's growth and identity, you know, within the logistics community as a leader?
I tell you, being not from here originally, it's like, you know, back in the day, it's like something was in the water, right? With all the entrepreneurs and the success, the stories that have come out of this area or people, of course. You know, JB Hunt's a great example, and everybody locally knows who JB Hunt is, but everybody in the world knows about Walmart. You know, just down the street, Tyson's huge. University of Arkansas. There's just so many examples. More George's Chicken. Just really great companies. And I think what you find is, and not to mention, you know, the University of Arkansas that has a supply chain department that, you know, consistently ranked, you know, in a lot of polls, number one.
Yep.
I remember when I was at Tennessee was ranked number one. So I think Tennessee's still up there somewhere, but you know, Arkansas is it's the best in the business. You got professors down there, thought leaders, and all things supply chain. You got companies like, just think about the supply chain at Walmart. And I'm not a Walmart expert, but just the supply chain at Walmart is, you know, by itself, just an amazingly large function, like almost beyond belief. So you just have so many different people, not to mention you got the companies that are based here, but you also have all the Walmart vendors that are represented in the area. And I just think that it's a unique area when it comes to, you know, I don't know any exact stats, but like a percentage of population associated with supply chain, I'm sure this area would be, you know, pretty high on the list in comparison to other areas.
Yeah,
I don't know the particulars of that, but I'm pretty sure that'd be the case.
I think at one point, I can't remember the number. This was like 10 years ago. There were 100. There's more than 100. I'll get the number wrong, but it was a significant number of trucking companies that were headquartered in Arkansas. They were in the top tier of all these trucking companies. I mean, we've got ABF and JB Hunt and, you know, PAM, you know, back in the, you know, I mean, they're still formidable, but, you know, when I was at Hunt in 88, you know, Mr. Hunt he'd wander the halls and we were privileged enough to see him in the break room. And, you know, then you'd have Paul Meister, who was still around, who was the founder of PAM, and Joe Fisher, who founded Fisher Trucking, and all of those people. So, it's been huge growing up around here. But talking about innovation, Walmart and their supply chain, JB Hunt and Walmart have done some incredible things together, and JB Hunt's been a leader in the transportation and innovation. When you talk about quantum, right? You go back to the late '80s when they started quantum, and then are bringing that back. So I think there is something in the water, and what it is, I don't know, but it's always been exciting to be a part of in my entire life.
Yeah. I clearly wasn't around in the early days, but I've heard stories about how a lot of the folks were around at similar times and helped each other. And I've heard of some like lunches at Neil's Cafe down in Springdale that had Mr. Hunt and Mr. Tyson and Mr. Walton's around, and all these people. And can you imagine being able to be in a time machine and sit down and just listen to them lunch together?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like Neil's and Herman's, those were the two places that I always heard that they gathered, right? Herman's Rib House in Fayetteville. So,
Y'all are getting to, I want to talk Northwest Arkansas food in a minute, but before we do that, so I want to talk a little bit more about the community involvement, how JB Hunt gives back to the local community, and why is that important to the company's mission?
I'll tell you, I'll start by saying we have we have 4 giving pillars, what we call our giving pillars, and it's healthcare, education, veterans, and disaster relief. And the reason we chose those is those all benefit our employees.
Yep.
It's they benefit the community, but they also benefit our employees. So, veterans, we have a long-standing support for veterans. You may have seen some recent Cross America is one of our premier events, which is just a touching event that happens every year. I'm a huge supporter of it, but we've partnered with from a healthcare standpoint, Children's Hospital, but also Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic. We've worked with them for one, because it's the right thing to do, but also because it helps give us in certain circumstances, it might give an employee that has some unique need, might gives them access that they might not have had otherwise. So we think in those terms too. Disaster relief, and speaking of that, just this last year with hurricanes, and then the tornado around here, and then the wildfires out on the West Coast. We have people spread out all over the country. So we do things internally for those employees. If we have somebody that's in a really bad place, because of a natural disaster, we have things set up that we can help support them, at least to some extent. And from an education standpoint, we obviously are tied fairly closely with the University of Arkansas. They just do such a great job, and we're proud to be associated with them, and part of the supply chain. The JB Hunt School of Supply Chain.
Go Hogs!
Go Hogs! Yep. But we also we support education all across the country, and all these pillars we do. There's of course a focus on Northwest Arkansas because that's our where we're headquartered, but these things we're involved across the country. One of the really cool things we do is it's called our Adopt a Class program, where we have drivers or even office folks can nominate their kids' school or their kids' classroom. And we go through, and it's a lot of it's based on helping our employees, but it's also somewhat needs based. We have people whose kids go to schools that are underfunded. There's underfunded schools all across the country, and I know my wife was a teacher when she was younger, and we would end up, we didn't have much money, but what we did, any extra money we had would go to buying supplies for her classroom. And that's a really common thing across the country, that teachers almost have, don't get paid enough to begin with, and then have to use their own money to buy supplies. Right. We come in and we'll bring the truck in. We'll donate $1,000. It's basically up to the teacher to spend however they want. on supplies, but we'll have a pizza party and the
That's
kids get to
awesome.
get in the truck and,
Yeah.
hear the air horn. And it's just really, really cool. We're really proud of that.
Yeah. So you mentioned Northwest Arkansas, a few minutes ago, and Kevin mentioned earlier in the lead in about the rapid growth in Northwest Arkansas. Believe it or not, by 2050 projected to be, in population over 1 million, which is just amazing. But how do you see JB Hunt's role evolving in the community over the next decade or for the next 2 decades to get us to 2050? How do you see the role of JB Hunt in that?
Yeah, I think we do feel a responsibility to help support the community. I think one thing I'll tell you is that we certainly plan on growing along with the community. So you think about some of the needs. Such a beautiful area. Like I can't
Mhm.
for anybody that isn't from here doesn't know it. Like it is fantastic here. I'm not from here, but never want to leave.
Yep.
Um, but
Once
there
you
are
come here, you don't.
yeah, yeah. As you grow and grow, I mean, there's things that need to happen. From an infrastructure standpoint,
Yeah.
planning standpoint.
Yep.
One that's kind of near and dear to my heart, or getting even closer now that I'm in this role and have play a kind of a part in our healthcare plans and that type of thing is healthcare in the area. And I think there's and trust me,
Great.
I'm no expert in this, but somewhat of a healthcare deficit where because we've grown so fast that we need more specialists and more doctors and
Yep.
nurses and facilities. And I know the Alice Walton Foundation is stepping up in a big
Huge
way
way.
there, which is very, very impressive, and I think will be great for the area. So we'll do whatever we can along the way to support the community, and it's probably going to be for the most part around education and healthcare
Okay.
and those pillars. It's not that we don't do other things, but those are the main pillars where we spend. When we spend significant money, it's going to be at one of those pillars.
Well, I
Yep.
I think the company's position and the company's reputation around philanthropy is amazing. But if you look at the leaders of your organization, I know some of them personally, and I will say that they're some of the most philanthropic people that personally that I have ever met. And so that lead by example, reputation is amazing. And so I think it just funnels on down. And I just am in awe watching your organization and everything that you guys are doing from a philanthropic and from a community perspective. So, I'd like to take this chance to say kudos to you guys and appreciate you for what you're doing for this community.
But just a quick plug. um, I'm tied along with Best Friends. Are you familiar with the Best Friends Animal Welfare Organization?
Yeah.
They opened
They just opened.
Center.
Was that the one they opened in up in Bentonville, right? And I was at the grand opening up there. Yeah.
It's a fantastic organization. I'm on the advisory council.
Okay.
It's a fantastic organization, and that's like people that know me well, will tell you that he likes people, but boy, not as much as he likes dogs. Like it's almost people think it's almost weird how much I love dogs. Like dogs.
So how many dogs do you have?
We have 2. By the way, both adopted from
Nice.
Best Friends,
Great.
and they're fantastic. But this organization, and by the way, if I had it my way, that we would add animal welfare as a corporate giving pillar, and I'm going to work on that.
There you go. Yeah.
Shelley, if you're watching, let's do that. So what they do is they have a goal of making the whole country a no kill, no euthanizing of animals, and the progress that's been made over the last decade is fantastic, but it still happens. And the unique thing about them is that they have it's not just like an animal shelter. They partner with animal shelters all over the country.
Yeah.
But it's actually a network of Best Friends locations, but also all these partner animal shelters. And what you find is that certain areas have dogs that, a much bigger need for shelters, but they don't have people looking to adopt animals in those areas. So and then you have others that you have plenty of people that will adopt, but there aren't that many dogs in the shelter. So best friends, I think one of the most important things they do is it's like a supply chain thing. It's taking dogs from overpopulated areas, taking them to transporting them to areas where they can get adopted. So it's just they do really great work. I thought I'd try to throw a plug in.
Good job.
No, that's great. I'm glad.
I know you get John Roberts support. I think he and his family donated to Best Friends when they opened up. So
he sure did. JB donated some, and John did as well. I was actually at that grand opening.
You?
Yep, and we got to go see. He had a dog, a statue of his former dog, and it was a really emotional moment.
I was hanging out with him a little bit, and we were catching up because we did some work together when I was at Walmart, and we were talking about that, and we started looking at the statue, and I could tell just like, it's like it got him. And so I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great work. Well, let's talk a little bit about kind of your leadership style and how it's evolved, kind of over the career, but also mentorship. Inside of that, how has mentorship been a part of your career and at JB Hunt?
We have and we've really stepped up our mentorship programs, and they're great. I think just like from my personal standpoint, I never miss an opportunity to be there to answer questions, and we have such great managers, young managers, and they have all kinds of various questions. Yeah. And the advice I generally try to give them is be aggressive about learning. Like we look for is people that are aggressive learners.
Yep. And
people that have a servant leadership mindset. And I tell you what, just in my mind, if you have those two things, we'll easily teach you anything you need to learn from here. If you have those two things, you're going to do really well.
I think that's great feedback, for our audience, those that are starting their career and maybe even in the back end of their career. I think taking that approach can only be good. So what excites you most about the future of logistics and your role, newly in your role at JB Hunt?
What I think excites me the most is being able to see the new young up and coming managers. And I look back and
I love that.
We thought, boy, we were young. I don't know about cocky, but we were confident, me and the people that I grew up here with.
Yeah.
And, we thought, we were the best at what we did. And now I look back, I can look now and see these kids are doing things. They're so much better than I was. It's really exciting thinking about how good these young folks are. And, I usually think about it like as far as like a sports analogy goes. Anything like the mile, to run a mile like it used to be the impossible. You can't beat 4 minutes.
Right.
And then 20 years later, people do that. It's still quite a feat, but it happens somewhat regularly, I think. Things just always get better. And I can see it inside of JB Hunt that these young managers are stronger than I ever could have dreamed of being. So I just think, wow, it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. I love that. Because KP and I are talking. I mean, we.
I thought you were saying we were going to go.
I was going to say last time I ran a 4-minute mile was never. But as we talk a lot, David, about the next generation, right? So that's encouraging for you to say that that's what excites you. One of the things that excites you the most, because we're talking about how do we, as people that have been in this industry and in this business and in different facets of the business for a long time, and how do we share our wisdom and learnings with that next generation, so they do just they blow by us. They just they're doing things early in their career that we only ever dreamed of.
Yeah. That's, another thing that I tell people is, and I think this is, I don't know if using the term epidemic, but I think people, and I was a little bit this way myself. I think people starting out, and I hear this when I talk to folks about, what their goals are. And I find over and over again, their goals they're set too low. Like I'm like, what are you talking about? You could do that in like 3 years. Like I see you there in 3 years. And I remember thinking to myself early on, like if I looked at like the roles I'm in now, I thought, that's, I think I can, have a great career, but that's out of my reach. I don't know if I'd even want to do it. I don't think I can handle the stress. I don't think my stomach's strong enough for it. But then as you make, and it's not at that point, like, you have so much learning that you need to do, but over time, 20 years later, I'm like, I remember at some point dawning on me, like, maybe that senior VP of operations, maybe I could do that. Where before I was like, that's impossible. So, and I think people need to, I tell people all the time, you need to be thinking it. You may not think you can do it now, but you trust me, you can. You just got to keep working, and you'll get there over time.
So David, you're in a high pressure, high stakes, fast paced role. Share with the audience if you have any like personal practices that you use to keep you energized and motivated. What is that?
I'd say I have a teaching is in my family. Like my wife was a teacher, but my mom was a college professor. My dad was a high school teacher. My grandmother was an elementary school teacher.
Yep.
So I have in me like an eagerness to learn. Mm-hmm. And boy, that has been put to the test, by the way, over the last 4 months, because I just stepped into a new role that, I really didn't know a whole lot about. I mean, I knew how to manage people and the goals and all that, but the HR nuances, I'm still learning every day. But just having that mindset, I think anytime I can learn something new, that's, especially after all this, being here for 30 years.
Yeah.
When you can come in and still learn something new every day, and that energizes me. And I tell you, the other thing that energizes me is, anytime we can do something that's going to make our people happier and more productive. And I know probably it may come across sound a little hacky, like,
no,
it energizes you to do things that are good for you, that are going to make people happy. But it goes back to what I, kind of what I led off with, that I am such a firm believer that, if somebody's happy and appreciates what the company does for them, they work harder, they're more productive, more efficient, and we get better work, and the company becomes just way stronger from that. So anytime we can do things that further us along that path, then that excites me a lot.
Yeah, it's very apparent to me, just in the time we've spent, that you're in the right role, and you're in the role for a reason. So they're lucky to have you, leading the people, because that is the foundation of every company, and that's why JB Hunt has been as successful as it has, is because of great leaders, like you, rooted in the people aspect of it.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say the same thing. I mean, like you're where you're supposed to be right now.
Yep.
I appreciate that, guys. I'm gaining a little traction every day, and I've got, by the way, the people. If anybody happens to listen on my team, that I'll tell you that it's been they've been so supportive of and patient with me as I ask a million questions, and as I try to get them.
Well, listen, let's talk a little bit about Northwest Arkansas. So, Higgins and I have been here for many decades, more than you have, but you've got to we all have our favorite spot. When you go to unwind, or you and your wife want to go to dinner, give the audience, a lot of our audience, living outside of Northwest Arkansas. However, they travel in, and they need to visit, a lot of the businesses that we've mentioned before. They need guidance on who to go, visit, and where to go eat. Do you have any recommendations?
I'll tell you, like my favorite place to unwind is this isn't exactly what you're looking for. Is with my wife and dogs on the couch after a long week watching something on
Yeah.
Netflix. That's what I really like. But as far as out in the community, um, it's not that I have anything like some go to that it's where I'm always
Just
going.
give shameless plugs.
It's shameless
Is
plug. There's so much to do. The mountain biking and I've got a mountain bike and I've gone quite a bit, but I always say I'm going to do more and I need
Yeah.
to do better. But the mountain biking here is world class.
world class? Yes, it
I'm a big
is.
sports fan. I'm a golfer. You
Yep.
got great golf courses here. I'm a big sports fan. You got SEC football, SEC basketball, SEC baseball that's going on right now.
Yep. Go Hogs.
You just have so much. Here's just an example of many. I didn't even know this existed. This was just like 2 weeks ago, and I wish I could remember exactly what it's called. But my wife said, "Hey, I got an idea for us on Sunday. Let's go to this. It's a range for archery, where you go and they have archery stations and." Not something I would have thought in a million years. And you go to this place and it's absolutely fantastic. It was so much fun. And I'm just thinking there's
Yeah.
so much stuff here like that. It's hard to keep up with.
And more every day, right? I mean, just in the time that you've lived here, think of all the new amenities, whether it be food, restaurants, entertainment,
Yeah.
museums, all of
Just the
those
bridges
that
and
have, and more coming every day. I just was reading about a new restaurant that's I won't plug it, but in Little Rock, in Central Arkansas, that's coming to Northwest Arkansas, and it's a really big deal. But that's every week. There's a new spot opening up. The downtowns of Bentonville, Springdale, Fayetteville,
Yeah.
Rogers. All of
Rogers.
those are prime locations. Now,
So
and that
much
has
good
changed
stuff.
dramatically in the 30 years plus that I've lived here. So
Yeah.
a great area to raise a family and go to work with companies like JB Hunt.
Yeah. It's fantastic. My wife and I plan to. Neither one of us are from here, but we plan to retire, stay here. We have no intention of going anywhere. This is
I love
where
it.
we want.
That's awesome.
That's a very common theme. A lot of people move in here for jobs and are having to relocate from areas, New York, California, wherever. And it's a struggle for them initially to move to a state like Arkansas. But they say exactly what you just said. Once they come here, they are not planning to leave anytime soon. So
My wife's from Buffalo, New
Wow.
York.
there you
And
go.
so when we and she got used to the South a little bit because we lived in Charlotte, Atlanta, and Memphis. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
she didn't know anything about Arkansas, and she was. Let me put it kindly. She was hesitant,
Yes,
and
that's
then
very common. Yeah.
It was not any. I mean, maybe 4-6 weeks after we got here, I remember her saying like, "This is fantastic. Let's never move." It was just that quick.
That sentiment is so common. I have so many people that tell that exact same story, and that's one of the reasons why we want to continue, promoting this Northwest Arkansas series that we're going to have. We'll highlight, businesses and people and restaurants, coffee shops, amenities in Northwest Arkansas. All because it's a great place, but it's a great place to have a business, and it is a logistics hub unlike any other area. So it's an amazing area.
Yeah.
Well, listen, David, this has been wonderful. I love hearing about your career. Like I said before, you're in the right role. You're a people leader, and they're lucky to have you. And we appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. So, in the event, any one of our members of the audience, listeners, would like to get in contact with you, what's the best way to do that?
I would say probably the best way is just on LinkedIn.
Yep.
I'm not as active as I need to be, but I'm getting there. So I'm fairly active on LinkedIn. So I think that'd be a great way.
Well, tell Shelly we appreciate her sharing you with us and with our listeners. Right. And man, I look forward to meeting you in person at an event somewhere or some other way. So we appreciate your time so much, David.
Thank you guys. Really enjoyed
Thanks,
it.
David.
It's been fun.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. If today's discussion inspired you, don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate, and share our podcast.
Remember, every great journey in logistics starts with a single step forward. Let's continue working together to transform the industry.